One. Hi everybody, welcome to another round. My name is Rich Nelson. My guest tonight is the uber talented and really nice guy, Mike Church. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rich.
Well, it's good to share some.
Well, that helps, you know.
It sure does.
This is good stuff here.
Yeah. Zoom in on the bottom there. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I got the right, yep, I do have
You
the label.
do,
Yeah, that's nice.
All right, so here's the deal. Tell us all about Mike Church. Where you from? How you got here? Stops in between?
Oh, well, I grew up in North Carolina. Spent 25 years of my life there.
Well,
Moved to California, had a couple years of music school. Did the singer-songwriter circuit out there. Played with a lot of ladies, wonderful ladies. But early 90s was sort of the
talking
angry,
music.
huh?
Music.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you say that on?
Say anything you want.
But if you remember the 90s, it was
Yeah.
the angry ladies songwriter.
Oh, yeah.
time.
Angst-ridden songwriting women, yeah. Oh,
Yes.
No
And
offense.
no offense, it was great stuff.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, I did the circuit out there, the singer-songwriter circuit, for about 3 years after I got out of school. Played some wonderful places. Never made any money because everybody's trying to get a record deal out
Sure,
there.
sure.
You know, so I saw a lot of my friends I went to school with selling cookies on the sidewalk to make ends meet. Wasn't quite for me, so I wound up getting a really, really good job, which I still have today,
Oh, really? Oh, that's
unless
where
I
that
find
started.
out if it's there tomorrow. But it's afforded me the luxury of this company. It's a small company. It's afforded me the luxury of being a musician and being able to play pretty much anytime I want to,
good.
but still have the security and the financial, aspects of having a job. That company in 1996 decided to move to Chicago from Los Angeles area. And at that time I had a couple bands that we were real close to getting a record deal. We actually auditioned for Jimmy Bowen.
All right.
I don't know if you remember him or not.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson's producer. In the Capitol Records building, we auditioned for Jimmy Bowen. We actually auditioned for Clive Davis.
Wow.
Yeah. These were, you know what? If I'd have known who these guys were, I would have passed out on the floor. I had no clue who these guys were. I didn't have a knowledge of record producers. Anyway, we were real close to getting the deal, and basically Jimmy Bowen and Clive wanted us to move to Nashville, the singer-songwriter I was playing with, and she didn't want to move to Nashville. And after that, she just sort of canned the whole band and went in a different direction. So I didn't have anything going on. The company decided to move out here. I had a relationship that sort of went sour, and it was just time for change. And so I moved out here in February of 96. When I landed at O'Hare, I left Los Angeles. It was 75 degrees, sunny. I was with my little suitcase in LAX airport, watching the sun go down. I landed here about 10 o'clock on Sunday night, got on the bus, me and my buddy, we were freezing to death. We asked the bus driver, how cold do you think it is out there? And it was like out of planes and trains and automobiles. The guy goes, 0, maybe 1 below. So that was my first night, and the pipes froze that night in our hotel room. That was my first real night here in Chicago. So, but look at me now.
There you go. You can tolerate the cold weather,
No,
You
I
still
don't,
got
but
your
I
job.
deal with it.
and you play your ass off.
Well, you know what?
Anytime
Thank
you.
you.
Get to see this guy play. Who you playing with?
Well, my main band is called The Desperate Bastards. I do have their T-shirt on. Rob Anderlick, take note of that, please. I also play a lot of bluegrass with a band called Anderlick Auto and Church. Do I need to look there? I don't know.
If you like. People out
They're
there
getting my
would
good
probably-
side right now,
People
you
would
know?
probably like you to
Yeah, it's a-
acknowledge them every once in a while.
Anderlick Auto and Church is mostly, when I play with those guys, it's mostly bluegrass. That's the two main bands I play with. That's probably 80% of my time. And when I'm lucky, I get to play with you, the White Saddle Band. And also, I play with Kevin Purcell, which nobody knows around here. He's sort of, you know.
He's an up and comer.
He's an
I think
up-and-coming
gonna
guy.
show some promise.
He'll be there in a little bit, but I play with Kevin Purcell and Root Doctors. when we do gigs around this area. And so I've got a mixed bag of, and I also do side gigs every now and then with some folks when
Yeah.
I got the time.
Cool.
I'm lucky. I managed to stay busy, and you know, it's funny, when I moved out here, I made a point to start going out as soon as I moved out here and meeting musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best thing I ever did. I mean, I started meeting people, and right away I started playing, but I tell you, playing with like you, Kevin, and all these other musicians I play with, which are wonderful musicians, it's knocked me up a notch than what when I left Los Angeles. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Los Angeles was wonderful. It was a learning tool. I played wonderful places. I played Troubadour numerous times. That's, you know, holy stage there.
Sure, yeah.
You know, but coming out here, I grew a lot. Am I talking too much, Richard?
No, that's what you're here for. That and hanging out, and
Having a drink,
Having a
which I think I
cocktail.
will.
we will play some tunes in a while. But, well, you know, I've heard you play with everybody you mentioned prior to that, including us. I've actually listened to you when you played with us,
Hmm.
and you play really well. And I would say that off camera as on camera. I have said that off camera, and you always bring a good time to the party, and it's always a pleasure to hear you play.
Well, thank you.
And I think everybody that you've mentioned would say that. So that's a pretty cool thing, and it's good to have you around.
Well, I think as a guitar player, if you want to keep growing, you have to play with good musicians. Oh, you have to play, period. You have to play live, period. I love sitting at the table and listening to you guys. I mean, you guys were playing the scene before I ever thought about moving out here. And I love sitting with you, Jim Bartholomew, Jim Nelson, Rich Prezioso, and listening to you guys talk about the old scene in the 80s, in the country scene, when you guys would go from one gig and then go to another gig at like 2 in the morning and play till 4.
Yeah.
I love hearing those stories. And I tell you, somebody's going to take my idea. There's a book there. Probably already are out there somewhere, but there's a book there.
Some of the stories, the statute of limitations hasn't worn off yet, so we can't talk about them.
Well, you don't have to use real names.
But yeah, it's when the Grateful Dead said what a long strange trip has spent, it has, and music scenes. I'm sure that Omaha has a music scene. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some citizenry of people like us who have done what we've done and done what we do, or do what we do. Have the same kind of stories and but what else would we do? I mean, this is what we do.
It's a community.
Yeah, it truly is.
And this is one thing I will say that I've got out here that I don't think I ever quite acquired when I was in Los Angeles, is the community of musicians that we have out here.
Right.
When I was in LA, maybe I wasn't in the right circle, but for the most part, I mean, the singer-songwriter circle is wonderful, but I'm more, as you know, I like to improvise. I mean, I had 2 years of jazz. I'm not gonna be able to play that much now, but I like to improvise, and the part of the fun of playing music is sitting around a table like what we're doing right now, and with other folks, and making music. It doesn't even have to be a paying gig sometimes, but that's what music is about. That's what I grew up with, and I never had that in California. I don't know if it's because people were too busy. When I was at school, everybody was in their bedroom, playing 8 hours a day. So I gotta be the next day to bed. They're playing, they're practicing. But then I learned later on in life that doesn't do you worth a crap when you step on the stage with a group of people.
Yeah.
So, and getting back here, I'm getting off track a little bit, but this is a wonderful community, and you've been very instrumental in bringing a lot of people together, and I try to do the same.
Yeah, it's. I've always, you always hear that the old adage about play with people better than you. I thankfully do. Everybody I
Well,
play
thank
with,
you.
Everybody I play with, and I learn from all of them. But community-wise, being in Nashville, one of Duncan Houston, who played in the White Saddle Band for a while, moved down there, chasing his dream. He got himself 4-day gig at Legends,
Oh, wow.
and he would play from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and
Jeez.
he'd be there when the first tour bus came through. And at 9:45, there'd be the wait person, the bartender, a guy in kind of cowboy clothes sitting having a beer, and Duncan. And the server would like look out the window and she'd say, "Here they come." Everybody'd step a little straighter, and Duncan would arrange his merch little as a CD box, And when the table, when the bus opened the doors, he was playing, and he would do that for 4 days a week, and it did well. He hung out with a bunch of people met a lot of people that were a guy who was across the street who played even longer hours than he did when he was in town. But when he was out of town, he was on the road with Tim McGraw. And his story was he lost the house, lost the wife, and he lived in a motel till Tim called and played at that Rippy's across the street. So there's that community. So what does all that lead to? I've been asked what the difference was in Chicago, what the Chicago community was like versus the Nashville community.
Mm-hmm.
And my comeback was in Nashville, if you're on stage and you drop from a heart attack, they're going to drag you off and somebody else is going to be in your chair before the song's over, But in Chicago, if you're on stage and you drop dead of a heart attack, they'll at least call you an ambulance.
Then they'll replace you.
Yeah, of course, they'll never replace you, but they'll at least call you an ambulance. And I thought, it's a little warmer up here than the scene down there. But
Well, you years ago, first time I ever went to Carroll's, I went to a jam down there. That's back when I first started back playing electric guitar. For up until 96, 97, up till probably 2011, I was mostly acoustic guitar player, and I didn't play that much electric anymore. And I wanted to get back into playing electric, so I was hitting all these jams around here, which, by the way, folks, if you go up towards northern Wisconsin and even around here, there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
Good people.
Yep.
They let me jump on stage not knowing who I was, and some of those people were very instrumental in me getting the courage to get back on electric. But I went down to Carroll's before Carroll was bought and closed down.
Yeah.
And I think
Sunday,
it got...
Was it a Sunday? Probably.
No, it was through the week, I
Wednesday.
believe. Yes,
Yeah,
Wednesday. I remember I was there till like 1 or 2, and they were having an open jam, and I was getting ready to leave. And the guys were on stage, well, you can't go. Yeah, we're still going another 2 hours. And I'm going, how long you guys go? They go 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you did that scene, right? I mean...
We did, when I was, I started playing carols when I was subbing for Mike McKeon, who was the bass player with the house band Diamondback. And he also did a Creedence Clearwater tribute band that would travel occasionally, Blue Moon Swamp. So whenever he'd travel and I wasn't doing anything, I'd sub for him, if the planets aligned, to do that. And it was 9 to 4 on Friday, 9 to 5 on Sunday.
Jeez.
I mean, on Saturday. And for a short time, 9 to 4 on Sunday.
So you were getting home at sunrise?
Oh, hell yeah. After sunrise in the summer, you hit Clark Street at 5 o'clock in the morning, and robins are singing. and people are still out. The drummer, Jamie Gallagher.
Oh, yeah, I know Jamie. Yeah, I played with Jamie a few times.
So he lived downtown. He would take his, because the drums are, the stage was always set up. I mean, the backline was there, everything, drums were there. But he'd take his cymbals off, and he'd put them in a cymbal case, and walk across the street and get on the Clark Street bus at 5:15 in the morning and take it downtown. And the bus was full. I mean,
No way.
You got to imagine what kind of a party goes on at 5 o'clock in the morning on the Clark Street bus. It was pretty nuts. But yeah, by the time I got home, it was 6, 6:15 or something.
Only in the city.
Yeah.
Only in the city.
And at 4 o'clock on Friday or Saturday, I wouldn't take the expressway because everybody who's been partying all night is on the expressway. So I'd just come up through the city, and there was nobody on the street but me. It's like that movie On the Beach. There's just nobody but me on the road. And it was cool. I didn't have the radio on. In the summertime, open the roof. And,
sometimes after a gig, I think you need that quiet time.
Oh, yeah.
You don't listen to radio. You just turn the radio off. Yep. And you need, it's for me, it's my downtime, because how many times have we came off of a gig at 2 in the morning, you get home, You're notorious for this. You're still awake.
Oh, gig insomnia.
Yeah,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you're wired.
Yep.
You know, and there's only so many reruns of Andy Griffith that you can watch. You know,
That's when I discovered the X-Files, like 4 years after it was off the air. You know, like all of a sudden at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 or whatever, the X-Files would come on. I never, you know, but I finally caught up.
well, I'm going to take a sip of this fine whiskey right here.
Good for you.
Copper Fiddle, by the way.
Copper Fiddle, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheers.
Same to you, man. Thanks.
Come out here and support them. They support live music. They have excellent drinks. I've been playing here a long time, Rich.
You had.
I started playing here, me and Rob Anderlich started playing here when Fred Robinson opened the place up.
Yeah, man.
And Fred took a liking to us because we always let him come up and play a tune with us. Dead Flowers
That's
and
always a good one for me.
the blues tune. I can't remember the blues tune now that we
And he
did.
brought his tambourine with him.
It-
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. But anyway, you know what? I was so happy to know that new owners took it over after Fred left because I really thought
That was it.
it might shut her up.
Yeah.
You know what? And you know, I don't care if I don't play there, but I hate seeing music venues close. Because it's a tough business. Amanda does a fine job here. She treats the musicians well. She treats the patrons well, and she's been a godsend with this whole scene. Of course, you know that.
Yeah, she put together a great package here. The sound system is killer. I mean, people talk about that all the time. First timers, Rob Rosenberg and I alternate weeks hosting the open mic here on Thursday nights. And well, the people that come, and lately we've been getting anywhere from 17 to 22 people we had. a couple weeks ago.
Well,
And 15 minutes a pop.
You know,
That puts you here almost Carol's hours, you know?
yeah,
I mean, we're
and Amanda
well
stays
over
open,
time.
huh, for that.
Yeah, we're all here. Everybody stays. And people who already played stay. It's not like they play and leave. You know? they just come
Thursday
back.
night, beginning when? What time?
Thursday night, every Thursday night. We kick off at 7 o'clock. This week, Rob will be hosting, well, it depends on when you see this, but in our world here tonight, Rob will be hosting this coming Thursday. Today is April 8th.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's Wednesday. So tomorrow, Rob will
Right.
be hosting tomorrow night, and I'll be here next week. But it's citizenry, like we talked earlier. It's community. People come out. Everybody plays to their level. Everybody plays well. And on my Thursday nights, we practice the copper rule, which is very similar to the golden rule, except for the element. And that simply is that I want the audience to treat the person on stage or the people on stage exactly the way they want to be treated. Meaning you listen, you don't talk while they're playing. I mean, you can hear people live recordings of open mic.
Right.
And it sounds like lunchtime in a high school cafeteria. People get up there and they're playing their hearts out, and you're hearing people talking louder than they're singing. And what's the point? You know, we luckily here at the Fiddle, we've got a fine bar room out there with a big wall in between it. You can go out there and talk. You're in this room. I call it the listening room. That's what you do. Give them the respect you want. That's all I ask. Well, it's more than what I asked for. I really kind of demanded, you know. But I learned that years ago. There was a place called the Cafe Barbarossa in the city. And,
I've heard of it, never
yeah,
went
it was
there.
a great place. And I went to an open mic there, and the host came out and he introduced himself and welcomed everybody. He was very friendly, very nice. And he proceeded to tell everybody exactly what I just said, that you're here to listen.
And it stuck with you.
Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. And so yeah, it stuck. And so that's what we do here. That's what I do here. Other places, other people don't necessarily practice that same thing, but
Well, I came here 2 weeks ago when Rob was here, and I'm sorry I missed yours last
yeah,
week.
that was Rob's night. Yeah.
Rob was here. Rob Anderlich, my picking partner, came, and yeah, it was a great crowd here, very respectful crowd, you know, and I'll come back and do it again with you.
Cool.
I got to make the time on Thursday night, but I'll definitely come back and do it again with you guys. I really did enjoy it.
All right.
And you guys are, it seems, I mean, the nights I haven't been here, it seems like you guys have really been you know, having a really great sign up.
Great sign up and really good players.
You know, but you have to emphasize also that, you know, we talk about growing as a musician, you know, playing with the better players. That's where it happens,
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
And if you want to become, I'll tell people this all the time, if you want to become a better player, one is play with better players. Number two is get on stage. You have to get on stage and get that, you know, work through those jitters and work through your material and everything. And we probably should emphasize too that everybody's welcome at these. It just have to be great players. You can strum 3 chords and sing, you're welcome, right?
Not even 3. You know
Not
what I
even
mean?
3. Well, you know, bluegrass people are notorious for playing 2 chords.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, Chain of Fools is one chord, you know, I mean, that's
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter, but yes, we've had people here who sat in a corner with their guitar in a case on the floor and come week after week, and you get to just sort of know them, you know, you recognize them anyway, and always greet them, and you're gonna play this week? Nah, I don't think I don't want to play. Nah, I don't want to play. And so finally, one guy in particular did that for a long, long time, and he got up and played, and he played to his level. You know what I mean? He played what he could, and he played what he played, and he did that for a while, and then he disappeared. And by that time, he'd been here long enough that Amanda and I are like, you know, parents. Where's he at? You know, he hasn't called. He hasn't. Where? You know? And he finally showed up one night, and had a brand new guitar, a nice guitar, and got up and played. He sounded like $1 million. You know, he sounded really good. And so we haven't seen him again for a while now. He'll probably come back, you know, with a tour bus and a hot band and on his
With
way to
record deal?
Nashville. Yeah, with a record deal. Yeah, so who knows? But,
Does he need a backup band?
hopefully he'll call us. If he calls me, I'll call you. For sure. But yeah, so it's been a good time here, and a lot of the places up and down the road. We got a great place in Wakanda. We got great stuff in Highwood, Chicago clubs. There's a few that are just really, really nice. So there's a lot of good music going around, a lot of good players, a
Absolutely.
lot of good people, and well, you're certainly one of them. So what we're going to do here is take a little break. Mike's going to play, and we're going to play, and you get to listen. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in a bit.
You know, I really don't play a lot of straight ahead bluegrass anymore. I did last Sunday, and it was a lot of fun.
Was it painful or anything?
So this is an old number called Gold Rush that a lot of people covered. I can't recall who actually wrote it, but I know Tony Rice covered it. And Tony Rice is like the god.
Indeed he is.
It's hard. I'll see if I can do a halfway version of it.
have been a little bit more thorough with the chords if I'd known you was going to jump in there.
No.
Sort of left you there hanging. I'm sorry.
So,
You want to sing one?
well, yeah, I will.
I love vocal harmony. It's on the poster.
I'm sorry, what?
It's on the poster, right?
No, yeah, but that isn't us tonight. That's next week. Now it's every other Wednesday.
Okay.
But, you'll like it.
Okay.
I had everything going on here.
Thank God for those big screens now, right, Rich? You know? I actually played with a gentleman in the Bluegrass Jam the other day that was reading off his phone when the phone was on the floor.
Wow.
And I'm
What kind of
like,
eyes has he got?
man, I said, you got some eyesight on you, brother. Now, he was still in his 20s, so.
Actually, I can, yeah, I can see the phone pretty well from a distance, but, close up, I don't use glasses, but, you know, for driving far away, I can't. Though I'm told, the eye doctor says that I'm legal to drive without glasses in Illinois. Now, that would be the most stupid thing I could ever do. But if, you know, I got an accident, I would be legal. I would be legal. So,
But you know what? I heard in the 1800s that this was a good fix for bad eyesight.
oh my God, good fix.
I think it will grow hair.
Yeah, and then remove it
Yeah.
if you had too much. Right?
Good whiskey here at Copperfield.
Yeah. If you love somebody enough, you follow wherever they go. That's how I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. If you love somebody enough, you'll go where your heart wants to go. That's how I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. I know if you've seen her, you tell me, 'cause you are my friend. I gotta find her to find out the trouble she's in. If you tell me she's not here, I'll follow that trail of tears. That's how I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. I know if you've seen her, you tell me, 'cause you are my friend. I gotta find her to find out the trouble she's in. She used to get mad and she'd say she'd go back to Memphis someday. That's how I got to Memphis. That's how I got to Memphis. for your precious time. Forgive me if I start to cry. That's how I got to Memphis. 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 That's how I got to Memphis.
Beautiful, Rich. You know,
Beautiful, Mike.
that is one of my favorite songs, and I don't think, and believe me, I grew up on country music when I was a kid. I listened to a lot of Roger Miller, and wait a minute, that was Roger Miller. That
Tom
was
T. Hall.
Tom T. Hall. Thank you. I get those two confused.
Yeah, yeah.
They look a little similar, you know.
They drank similar.
But I don't think I ever heard that song until I heard you play it.
Really?
And it just, wow, it's just a great song.
It is a good one. It is a good one. We did a show with Tom T. some years ago. It was at a theater on the south end of town, Chicago, that had been converted, turned into, restored. Maybe 400 or 500 seat theater, Cornet Theater, I think it was called. And so we got this thing to open for Tom T. And it was a time when one of those rare and small times when Tom T. was on the wagon. And so,
A lot of country artists.
we'd bring our cooler, and we were on a champagne kick for a long time. So we'd bring ice and a couple bottles of champagne, and, just get ready for the gig. We were told, Tom T. doesn't want any, don't want no drinking around Tom T. So they pulled his bus up, backed into the alley. We did our thing. Here the band comes out, and they're banging away. Here, ladies and gentlemen, Tom T. Hall. Here comes Tom T. with a big glass of bourbon, or whiskey, some kind of whiskey-colored drink, ice cubes in it, and he sets it on the piano. And so much for being on the wagon. That was the end of that story right there. Yeah, Tom T. But he was good. He was a pretty good guy.
Too bad you could have brought him up here.
Hell yeah.
The
Oh
place
my
was
God.
around at the time.
He'd never leave here. I mean,
He would have been sleeping on barrels.
there's barrels all over the place and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. So let's do that Tucker Batard tune that Kenny Chesney had a release with it. It's on one of his albums. And I was listening to actually Kenny Chesney radio on Sirius, and this guy comes on and he's got a flat top, well, I don't know, flat top, but he's got an acoustic, just a guitar, strumming a guitar and singing a song. And a few times in my life, I've heard a song come on the radio that I've had to pull over for. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, first time that came on the radio, oh my God, pulled over right away. And this is much like it. And it's, the guy who wrote it is Tucker Batard. And, a song about a guy who thinks he's got it really, really good, and realizes that maybe not as good as some others. It was early one morning in Playa del Carmen. That's when I first met Jose. He had a 12-foot spoon and a 3-foot cooler full of the catch of the day. He was wrinkled and grinning from all the sun that he'd been in. He was barefoot and had a beer in his hand. He said, "Gracias, senor," when I paid him too much for all the snapper he had. And I said, "My friend, that ain't nothing." In the misbroken Spanish I knew. Back home where I'm from, I make a good living. He smiled and said, "Amigo, me too." He said, "I fish play my guitar, laugh at the bar with my friend, go home to my wife, pray every night that I could do it all over again. Flying high over Texas, I thought of my Lexus and all the stuff that I'd worked so hard for. The things I'd gathered from climbing that ladder didn't make much sense anymore. They say my nest egg ain't ready to hatch yet. They keep holding my feet to the fire. They call it paying the price so that one day I might have me enough to retire and fish, play my guitar, laugh at the bar with my friend, go home to my wife, pray every night that I could do it all over again. Not a thing for a while, I thought I had it made. And all this time, I've been just dying to live like Jose and fish, play my guitar, laugh at the bar with my friend, go home to my wife, pray every night that I could do it all over again. Play my guitar, laugh at the bar with my friend, go home to my wife, pray every night that I could do it all over again. Well, very nice, Michael, very nice.
Great job. You know, that's the other one that you, when I first started playing with you with some of the Diamondback White Saddle Band gigs,
Yeah.
it was that was just a great song. It struck me when you first played it. It was just an awesome song.
Well, and I heard it, like I said, I heard it on the radio. It was another one I had to pull over for because it was just a killer. Just a killer. You want to do one? I've heard you sing. I played with you when you sang. Come on now.
I'm trying to think of something that maybe you can cut me on the way. Let's just do a blues number. You know, I played with Kevin Purcell. I've learned to get a new respect for the blues. Being in Chicago, you know, you gotta know it. You gotta love it. You know, so you got something in mind. Let me get this E too. Yeah.
All right. Send you down to
Is that
Teresa.
anything like the blues, or was that?
That's very much like it. Yeah, yeah, very much like it. Very cool, very cool. What else we got on the parade? When I think of all those magic nights you played with the West Alabama, what do you remember?
Okay. I love you guys' material. You guys really do have an awesome vocabulary of songs. I'm amazed every time I play with you guys, every time I hear you guys, of how many tunes you guys know. And you can
Me
still
too.
remember. You can still
Well,
remember.
me too. Yeah. Well, thanks to the iPad and the cyberspace, it picks up where the memory leaves off.
Blow the font up to like 15.
No, not too bad. Not too bad. Well, because if you blow the font up too big, then it doesn't cover the whole song.
That's
Then
right.
you got to reach over and
Well, you could do like
a lot of people do.
you could do like Rob Rosenberg did. You know, he used to bring like a 19-inch monitor. Did
Oh,
you ever
yeah.
see him do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but it was a great idea. He'd bring like a 19-inch monitor and put it right on the mic stand.
He does a good job. He brings he records everything for everybody. And,
Yeah, he's done an excellent job. And you know what? He's been very good for the music scene around here.
oh yeah.
You know, he supports live music. He gets people in places. He convinces restaurants and bars to have live music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We met, Jim Bartholomew and I used to do an open mic in Roselle, a little wine bar called Vine Tastings. And this is, it's probably now 12-ish years ago, maybe a little longer. And it started out once a month, and it got so popular we started doing it every other week. And one of the first people to come in the door was Rob Rosenberg.
Wow.
And he had retired yet. He would show up every time there was an open mic. He would show up with a different Taylor guitar.
Wow.
He would bring in the cutaway one, the sort of the parlor size one, and then like a one that looked square shouldered dreadnought kind of things. He brought in an 8-string.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't think
8-string
I've
Taylor. I'd never seen one before.
Yeah.
And I think he had a baritone one, but he was always showing up. I would think, Jesus, this guy's either really loaded or somebody's stealing things from him or whatever. But he came in with a new one all the time. So it was pretty impressive.
So you figured out you should become his friend, right?
Well, yeah, give me one of those Taylors, man. At least have him leave it to me in his will or something. But and yeah, Vine Tasting went on for a few years, and all the people that Marshall Herstadt,
Yeah.
last name, yeah.
Yeah.
He was first one there. Jack Kennedy from Woodstock, the Woodstock, people.
Yeah.
Woodstock people. Sounds like a monster movie. The Woodstock people. But yeah, they group of folks up there,
Uh-huh.
and a number of other people too. The name escapes me, but nonetheless, yeah, a bunch of people came out.
You know, you bring up an interesting fact. Sorry about that. Excuse me, Mike. Wait a minute, I'm Mike. Have you noticed, you've lived here many years, most of your life, right?
I was born in Chicago. Yeah,
You were
I never
born in
lived
Chicago,
for
there's a song like that, right?
Yeah, right. I thought
think
we were
so.
breaking it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never lived anywhere long outside of Chicago.
I have
Chicago,
noticed-
Evanston here,
Since I've moved here, I've noticed that every little area around this area seems to have their own little music scene.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I'm in Geneva, St. Charles, Batavia a lot, and they have their own music scene down there that everybody knows everybody. A lot of open mics, a lot of, I wouldn't say so many jams, but a lot of open mics for sure. That's somebody people you should get to know as well. That's not too far from you. And then you get to Mundelein, Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
Wakanda's got their own little scene. Then you mentioned Woodstock.
Yeah.
Woodstock has their own little scene. And
Woodstock's
we
got
all
like a-
intertwined, but
They got like a booth, like you have to go through customs to get into Woodstock. You just don't get in.
you
They
got to
gotta
bring
let
you got to bring the groundhog.
Yeah, they got to let you in. No, good folks up there, good people.
But I think it's amazing. One thing, and in where I grew up at, there was very country, very rural. I mean, where I grew up, there was no sidewalks at the time, no stoplights. You rode your bicycle on the road, you got a chance of getting ran over if you wasn't careful, because down there the cars have the right of way, not pedestrians.
Sure.
But there was a group of musicians, but it wasn't near as tight knit and close as it is around some of these areas. I mean, you're close. Wakanda's right up the road. Everybody's pretty close around this.
Yeah, and I probably know 4 or 5 people in the whole Wakanda scene. There's people that I have no idea. And St. Charles and Geneva area, I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
The Batavia thing, we played they were saying the Batavia Moose have a
Yes.
Music Festival.
Wonderful people. I know those folks, by the way.
Yeah, and we played that a few times. The best grilled bologna sandwich I ever had in my life. Not that I've had many, but after this I don't need any more, or that one anymore. Was at the Music Festival. God damn, it was really, really good.
We played there St. Patty's Day weekend.
Oh my.
The DBs did.
Inside.
Can I say Desperate Bastards?
You can say
I
whatever you
already
want.
did. So.
Yeah, that's all right.
We played inside, and they had corned beef. And we got there early. I got there early anyway. And I knew some people in there, and they said, "Oh yeah," they said they always sell out every year. I'm here early before they sell out. Believe me, I've had my share of corned beef, but North Carolina, it wasn't a big thing. But holy cow, they brought us out a sandwich, and it was awesome. I understood why people.
There's got to be a butcher that is one of the moose guys that takes care of them really good, because their food is good.
And Kirk Kilker, he's like he's one of the main mooses down there.
No.
He's a good friend of ours. He's very supportive of live music, by the way. He's also an excellent salesman. He sold me a membership. He sold Rob a membership too.
I was a Woodstock Moose member.
No way.
Oh yeah.
It's a wonderful organization.
It is true.
I knew very little about it until I started playing there. Until I got to know they do wonderful things.
Sure, they Moose Art and
Yes.
and they've been doing it for years. They take care of kids.
They do.
And they take care of seniors. I mean, at either end of your existence, they got you covered pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're good folks. They really are. And
And with certain ones, I do support live music as well.
well, yeah. Woodstock not so much anymore that I know of.
Wakanda does. They have.
Do they?
Yeah. And one, of course,
Batavia.
One down in Batavia does. I think more. Actually, they're trying to get to really push it a little bit into one in Batavia. So
All
you
right,
know
so-
what? Again, hats off to any venue that's
Yeah.
decided to have live music.
Yeah, there's more. There's as the music business changes and new technology comes in every day, and new technology that's more than capable of being its own music industry.
Mhm.
Our scenes, how we do things and what we do and where we do it, especially, has changed a lot. And places that are you wouldn't think them to be music venues have become to give. When Jim and I first started playing here at the Copper Fiddle, it's been 8 years now that we played here, both under Fred and
We dad?
and here. No, we
Okay.
started young.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still in diapers, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, no one ended up in it either. So, how we started here was we were either in his kitchen or my basement or vice versa, whatever. And I said, instead of just getting there at the houses to rehearse, we were gigging a lot, but still, just to rehearse. Why we should go set up somewhere, like a gas station or 7-Eleven, I don't care where, and just put up with a bucket and practice there,
Right.
So I came by the fiddle and I was talking to the manager at the time, and we were talking about something else, and I finally said, Andrew, what's the worst day of the week for you here? He said, Wednesdays. Wednesdays suck. Nobody ever comes. I said, great, can we have it? can we come in and rehearse here? He said, well, yeah, sure you can. And that was 8 years ago. You know, so we're still doing it here.
Look
But
at you now.
the key to that, I mean, where that it's all going, is that it was a venue who live music wasn't, at that point, it wasn't a big thought to them. You know, they were getting rolling, new owners, and, you know, just rolling into that stuff, new to the business. So they didn't have that part of it done yet. And it's worked out well. It's become quite the music venue. And we're here on Wednesdays, on the air, Jim Bartholomew and I are on Wednesdays, alternate Wednesdays. We do this interview thing on the other Wednesdays. Open mic every Thursday, Friday and Saturday, they get music. So it's come a long way. So anytime you get out here, make sure you stop in. You've probably driven past this place 100 times and said, someday I gotta stop in. Well, someday it should be happening pretty soon. It's great to be hanging out with you and people.
Well, thank you. I
playing.
appreciate you having me here, and I appreciate this venue. I appreciate Amanda,
Yeah.
Partner, for having us and putting up with your shenanigans and not my shenanigans.
You're well known for your shenanigans. Yeah. Yeah, you
I'll
got
have another drink with fine.
Yeah, let's
Cheers.
toast to shenanigans.
Happy Hump Day, everybody. Come out, support live music, support Copperfield. All the musicians would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. So what are you thinking?
I don't know. Why don't you play something, sing something?
I've been playing and singing.
As I told you, I'm not really a solo artist. You know, I have a face for radio, so I love everything you do. You take me back to my childhood. And I don't mean that.
Oh,
bad
man,
way,
oh,
you know?
man.
I just like the old country. You guys.
Just because I got shirts older than you. Jim C., his line is, I got dental records older than you. He probably does, too, come to think of it. But he's another good one. So this would be... Who are you thinking of when we were making love last night? Was it a good-looking stranger, a close friend of mine? You didn't want to quit when we was into it last night. Who are you thinking of when we were loving last night? good-looking stranger, a close friend of mine. You didn't want to quit when we was into it last night. Who were you thinking of when we were loving last night? Who were you thinking of when we were loving last night? Who were you thinking of when we were loving last night? Yeah.
Just like we rehearsed it.
Indeed,
Did we
indeed,
rehearse
yes.
it? Okay,
No.
we just did.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Church has been my guest tonight.
Thank you, Rich Nelson. Thank you for
Oh
having me.
man, always a good time, Mike. Always, always, always. So stay tuned for another round. We'll see y'all. Peace and love.
More cheer going out the door.
Indeed.
How we do?
I think well.
You get a TV program in there?
Yeah, I think so.
CBS be calling you tomorrow?
Yeah, instead of some others.